My name is Samuel Tucker, and this is what the Lord has done for me. I was asked to give my testimony and experience, and I pray that by God's grace, this is a blessing for all those who watch. My name is again Samuel Tucker. I was born and raised in New Jersey of the United States, and I was raised in the church. I'm definitely thankful for that experience, being raised in that environment. I was raised with my mother and father in the home. I had a little sister. I had an older sister, but she was much older, so she was never really in the home. And so, she was, she was essentially grown up, by the time, we became of age. And so my upbringing, was very interesting. So my mother, she was a Christian. My father, he wasn't averse to religious things, but he was not a Christian. And as a result of that, for those who may know that a lot of times that causes a lot of strife and contention in the home. And so my home was, certainly nonetheless different. But I am thankful that my father, even though he was not a Christian, he didn't prevent my little sister and I and my mother from going to church, which was definitely a blessing. It was definitely a blessing. But sadly, there's a lot of strife, at home, and for those who have gone through those experiences, a lot of yelling, cursing, a lot of things that cause a lot of disturbance to the tranquility of the home. And as a result of that, as I'm pretty sure for a lot of persons watching, growing up in a broken home, there's a lot of trauma that you have to deal with as a result of that. And sadly, naturally, because of that trauma, I didn't have a close relationship with my father, and especially as a man, you seek for validation from your father, especially because he's a man. That's the man figure that you're seeking to get some sense of identity from, and not having a personal relationship with him was definitely jarring, emotionally and mentally, even spiritually. But through that experience, going through all of those, those trials and tribulations, and also as well, because of the nature of the situation, there was a lot of economic instability in my home. So, sometimes we would get, evicted from a house. Sometimes we had to sleep in a hotel. Even at a storefront at times. Because of the financial constraints that my family was going through. So again, coupled with the issues at home and with all of the instability, naturally that's going to have an effect upon the mind. But through those experiences, the Lord used those opportunities in order to draw me closer to Him. And I pray that this is an encouragement for those who are watching, that even the bad situations that you have gone through or even currently going through, just know that through perseverance, through faith and trust in God, that God is going to use those experiences to be a blessing to you. Now, mind you, just to be clear, this is not saying that God is making you go through those experiences as if God is wanting you to have to deal with trauma and all those things, but He is allowing it to happen, and since He is allowing it to happen, just know that it doesn't matter how bad it may be, that God will not only get the glory, but this will be for your betterment as well. And not to belabor the point, because I know that maybe some of us have gone through serious things, maybe molestation, rape, abandonment, very, very serious things. And even through those situations, God, He uses those opportunities in order to not only be a blessing for us, but as the Lord gives us victory over these situations, God uses our personal testimony to be a blessing to others who have gone through similar situations as well. And so my relationship with the Lord, for instance, started to happen when I was about, say, 15, 16. So in my personal experience, even though I was growing up in the church, it was very nominal. And when I mean by nominal, I was a Christian in name, but not so much in practice. Now, I am thankful that, growing up in the church, it did keep me from a lot of trouble and stuff like that. But from a Bible standpoint, I can't really say that I was a Christian. I still enjoy the things of the world. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't necessarily like going to the club and quote unquote turning up, as some people term it. But I wasn't a true Christian from the Bible standpoint. So as I'm going through these experiences, around 15, the Lord, that's really when the pivot happened for my life. And there's one particular instance that I reference many times where I was at home. My father was watching television in one room. I was watching television in another room. And I looked over at my father, not talking to him, but thinking in my mind, like, why doesn't my father love me? And again, obviously not dealing with, the tender love of a parent, it can be very traumatizing. But as I was, meditating on this thought, why doesn't my father love me? As I was going through that process, even after that, and as I was surrendering myself to the love of God, what started happening was that God, He really became a father to me. I mean, really became a father to me. And the relationship, it felt so intimate that I felt as though that even if I didn't have another friend in the entire world, that I would be completely satisfied because of the relationship that I had with my Father in heaven. And so, even as it pertained to my relationship with my earthly father, I no longer was seeking validation from him anymore. My burden now was, as God was putting it in me, was how can I give my father the love that I was now experiencing? And I pray again that this is a form of consolation for many of us, because there are people in our life that have hurt us, whether they be friends, close family members. I mean, really hurt us. And there's an old adage, and I'm pretty sure some persons may be familiar with it, that hurt people. And it's sad that it's that way, but it's the truth, because if we ourselves are broken, it's going to be impossible for us to love people in a healthy manner. And so that's what was happening during that time. And the Lord was blessing, the Lord was really blessing. And I was growing in my relationship with the Lord, and I started to take my role at church very differently. I felt more of an obligation to be an example to my peers. And by the grace of God, even at those teenage years, the Lord used me to be a blessing to a lot of my friends and associates, when a lot of them were doing like super overt worldly things. And by God's grace, the Lord was able to give me words at times, to speak to them, to help encourage them in the right way. And so, as this experience was going on, I was leaving high school. So I graduated high school in 2010, and during that time, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I'm pretty sure, maybe some of us are young people watching this, or even maybe older persons, and you may be working and doing things like that. But you feel as though that you're not really living the life that the Lord has called you to live. And that was actually my experience. So, I love the Lord, love going to church, sharing, the love of Jesus, but I didn't have really any sense of direction. So I started to pray, to fast, talk to God. And I really felt that God was calling me to go into the ministry, to be a pastor, and to preach, and to minister to others in that capacity. And so that's actually what I ended up doing. I went in that direction. I went to a Christian school down in Alabama called Oka University, Seventh-day Adventist institution, and I went there, and that's where my relationship with the Lord took another level, where I started to really study more personally for myself as what it really means to be a Christian. What do we really believe? What does the Bible actually say? Because a lot of times as Christians, we say that we love the Lord, and that's the basis of everything. But God wants us to have an intelligent faith, and because especially as we're seeking to evangelize, to be a blessing to those that don't know God, if we can't give an intelligent answer as to what we believe and why we believe it, a lot of times we'll not only embarrass ourselves, but we'll embarrass God as well. And so during that time, the Lord was really emphasizing in my mind the importance of really understanding what I believe and why I believe it. And so I was studying a lot. I was learning about, Bible prophecy, learning about the New World Order and all of these different type of things. I mean, it was mind blowing. It was, I mentioned it sometimes that it literally felt, for those who may be familiar with this movie, I felt like I was Neo in the Matrix, and that like Morpheus, took me out of the Matrix. That's literally how it felt. And I mean, my mind was just opened. My mind was really open. And so from that time, I knew that God, had really called me to the gospel ministry. So I just, continued to learn. I eventually left that institution in Huntsville. I went to a medical missionary training school. And for those who don't know what medical missionary work is, it's essentially doing the work that Christ did. So when you read in the Gospels, Jesus not only preached the gospel, but he also lived it practically in the sense of helping to heal people of their diseases by natural means. And so I went to an institution that did medical missionary work, a meat ministry in Huntington, Tennessee. Shout out to the meat ministry family. And what they teach there and many other kindred institutions is because at the end of the day, we know that God is the one who heals, so we don't profess to heal anybody. But what we can do is to cooperate with God in the healing of the body. And so teaching the laws of health. So I was learning all of these different type of things. And that experience was great. I was at that institution, Meat Ministry, for a little over 4 years. Then I left there, went up north, did some more work in the DC metro area. And by God's grace now, the Lord has blessed even to the point where I'm married now. And my wife and I, we have a ministry called Glad Tidings 3 a.m. And we have a YouTube channel as well. So for those who are watching, definitely go check out the channel, Glad Tidings 3 a.m. And the Lord's been blessing. We're currently recording this video at an institution called Butler Creek. That is a natural health retreat that helps to assist nature in the healing of the body. And so the Lord has really blessed, been able to have a lot of experiences in ministering to others. And one of the principles that I've really come to understand as a Christian is that God saves us to serve. That we're saved to serve. And so as the Lord affects us personally, it's not just so that we can keep all these blessings to ourselves, but that we ourselves can be equipped to be able to minister to others. And so I know that the testimony was really short, but by God's grace, I pray that it was a savor of life unto life to anybody. And I definitely want to say a shout out to dear brother Shelton for just giving the opportunity for us to share. And we pray that by God's grace, the Lord continue to bless all who watch this channel. My name is Samuel Tucker, and this is what the Lord has done for me.